On today's show, Koby Altman and the rest of the front office have been extended with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk about what that means for now and the future in Cleveland, plus some big summer league takeaways. Spencer Davies with me. We've got a lot to talk about all straight ahead on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and of course, a number of other stops along the way. And thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure to drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and of course, be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube as we get started here, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel, because right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Spencer, we have a lot to talk about. We've got summer league stuff to get to that you didn't get to watch in person because, of course, traveling with you is a non-starter. It's something that you should never do because you had I believe, a canceled flight trying to get to Vegas and you missed the Cavs summer league game yesterday, but we can make fun of you later. We have to talk first and foremost about the Cavs extending Koby Altman and the rest of the front office to new contracts. They are going to be around for the long haul. I don't think that this was ever something that was in question. Obviously, these guys not on the hot seat. They've done a very, very good job into building this team from what it was when LeBron was here last time through a rebuild and now back into a championship contender. But first thought, when you saw the Shams Charania notification come through, what were your first thoughts there?
Well, I think it's well-deserved for Koby Altman and his front office to be extended this way because of what they've built and how, honestly, quickly they turned things around. So we know that Dan Gilbert was not very kind to the GMs previously as far as extension goes, as far as just keeping them around for more than 4 years, 3-4 years, whatever it is.
So I believe Koby was the first, not executive, but lead decision maker.
Yeah.
To have multiple or to get a contract extension under Dan. I do not believe that any of the guys that were running basketball operations previously before Koby under Dan Gilbert received contract extensions. It was kind of like you did your contract and then, you know, David Griffin was gone and Chris Grant was gone. And of course, some of these ended on different terms than the other ones, but Koby has been really, since Dan Gilbert bought the team, Koby and Mike Gansey, those guys have been pretty solid foundationally for the Cavs, just like consistency. And I think that is something that you cannot take for granted organizationally.
And I think it's the connectivity and it's just everyone being on the same page that's really important. And that's why you see the incremental growth year by year with this Cavs team over the last 3-4 years. It's not as fast as people want it to happen. And yes, they fell short this year, but there is progress as we've gone along, and it comes through the development with all the other talent too. But even acquiring guys in off seasons past, that has led to this point. And I think a lot of trust is being put into these guys. You said it, Koby Altman, Mike Gansey. We also have to shout out to Brandon Weems and John Nichols and Jason Hillman. They got extended as well. So it's a lot of the people that have been around and running the ship here for a while. And I think it's a good thing. And I think when you're on the same page with everybody in the front office, down to the coaching staff, down to the players, it makes for a really solid environment.
And those guys that you all mentioned, all 5 of them, are extended through the 2030 season. So this is a 5-year contract extension, if my math serves me correct. This is a very stable part of the organization. I think it's a very good thing. And listen, I've not agreed in real time with every move that Koby Altman has made. I was actually talking with somebody at Summer League about some of the moves that he's made that maybe weren't super popular when they were made. Like, for instance, when the Cavs acquired Lauri Markkanen, I did not think that was a good move. And time again, nobody bats 1,000 in these types of situations. Like, Koby Altman has not been perfect. You know, this front office has not been perfect, but I don't think that they necessarily get the credit that they deserve, because they've done a lot of really good things, both in terms of building up and acquiring great talent, but I think they've done a lot of really good things on the margins too. And I think that is one of the areas where they're really going to have to shine moving forward, is on the margins, because yes, it's hard to find championship caliber star players. Like, acquiring a Donovan Mitchell is not an easy thing to do. Drafting an Evan Mobley and developing him, not necessarily an easy thing to do. Like, that pick could have gone wrong. They could have picked Scotty Barnes instead of him, or Jalen Suggs instead of him, and they didn't. They got it right. Drafting Darius Garland, they got it right. Now, we could also say maybe Isaac Okoro wasn't the right pick at number 5 overall, but they've done a good job both there. They've done a good job in the trade space. Like, acquiring Jarrett Allen was a fantastic move. I think one of Kobe's best, but they've also done a good job on the margins. And when I look at that, I think of, okay, well, Sam Merrill just signed a deal, 4 years, $38 million, but you got him because he was the first overall pick in the G League draft to Cleveland, to the Charge a few years back. And then he's on a 10-day, and then he's got another 10-day, and then it's multi-year deal, and now he's on, a real NBA contract. Dean Wade, Craig Porter Jr., like, they have done, not perfect in all avenues, but I think they have been an above front office in just about every single aspect of decision making, and that shouldn't be taken for granted. No,
not at all. I think that there's definitely an archetype that this front office likes too, that they trust their process through. And a lot of people have been clamoring for the whole wing thing, the bigs and all that, and they're justified in it. But I think you go out and you get a DeAndre Hunter last year, right? That's your wing that you probably have been searching for since Markkanen's been gone. And then you go out and
I think since LeBron has been gone.
Well, there you go.
Because I don't look at Lowry as that type of player.
Like, there you go. But
he was a big masquerading as a wing.
Sure.
Right. And I think that they have been searching for that. And to what you're getting at here, patience is a really hard thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
And they have had patience, but they've known when to act. And that's a really tight needle to thread.
Yeah. And I mean, even looking at bringing in Larry Nance Jr. this year, okay? Like, that you have an issue that you don't have a third big or someone that's playable when Evan Mobley or Jarrett Allen are either hurt or they need some air to breathe and just have somebody go out there for 15 minutes to just be able to play. And I think they're very self-aware in that instance. I don't think there's a stubbornness about this front office. I think that they're very meticulous. I think they do not want to overreact too much. They don't want to underreact, and they pick their spots.
Yes.
That's what I've noticed about this front office over the years, is that they are not the Phoenix Suns. They are not a Brooklyn Nets. They are very much so. They're proactive, but they're not too reactive.
They've not tried to microwave success.
Correct.
They've not tried to, and Phoenix has tried that. Brooklyn tried that. And listen, if you are, we could talk about what Phoenix gave up for Kevin Durant, but if you have the opportunity to acquire Kevin Durant, you do it. The same thing for Brooklyn. So, I do feel some sympathy for those organizations.
The Rockets are in that category too now.
The Rockets are in that category as well. And there's a common player in that thread. But what the Cavs have done, I think, is they've known when to make those bets, right? Because the Donovan Mitchell trade, and I've been saying this since the day they traded for Donovan Mitchell, the Donovan Mitchell trade was not a bet on Donovan Mitchell. That was a bet on Evan Mobley. But as soon as they had seen enough from Evan Mobley, which at that point, after 1 year in the league, you just knew, okay, this guy, maybe he's not going to win an MVP, and we don't know if he will or not, but he is a future defensive player of the year. You can check that off. He's a future All-NBA guy. You can check that off, going All-Star, all this stuff, right? I think they knew very early on with him that that was going to be the case. So they knew, okay, this is the time to make the bet on him. And of course, you need to have somebody available that fits. And Donovan Mitchell was that guy, and you got him for the right price. And that really, I think, when I look at the best moves that Koby has made, and maybe we'll do this next segment, but that certainly is one of them. Like, I look at what he did in acquiring Donovan Mitchell, not just because the Cavs needed a superstar, and Darius Garland is awesome, and he was an all-star here before Donovan got here. But I think it's fair to say that Donovan is a different level of superstar than Darius, and has been. Like, he is a different type of guy. And knowing how to acquire that player and when to acquire that player is a challenge in itself. And that, I think, is probably the biggest move that Koby got right, but there have been a lot of them that he has gotten right, that he deserves a lot of credit for. And really, when I say Koby, I'm not speaking specifically only about Koby Altman here. Like, this is about Mike Gansey and John Nichols and Brandon Weems and Jason Hillman, like that group, I do think there's a lot of collaboration in this front office. This isn't Koby Altman is deciding to do everything and those guys are along for the ride. That's not how they operate. So I think this entire front office deserves a lot of credit for all of those things.
You've got to all be pulling in one direction. Again, it's about being on the same page. It's having the same goals, knowing how to communicate with each other, and being connected top to bottom. And that's what the Cavs have been literally the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, that is exactly what they've been. Now, there have been a lot of moves for Koby Altman that have gone well. We've not prepared our favorite ones, but we're going to give you our favorite ones right off the cuff next, right here on Locked On Cavs.
Do you want to be on the show?
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel, the very best way to make every game even more exciting. Heck, even Summer League. Yes, Summer League. You can see me on social media. I'm putting out FanDuel has the Cavs as favorites or underdogs in Summer League games. If you've got to scratch that basketball itch, maybe the WNBA not getting it done for you, but Summer League might. I don't know. Maybe you really like Jaylon Tyson to have a good game again on Wednesday when the Cavs play. You could take the Cavs to win that game. Maybe. We'll see what happens. I don't know what the line's going to be, but FanDuel will have you covered. And you're already following the action, so why not make it just a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Sunburn stinks. FanDuel doesn't. That's all you need to know. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Again, open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. And Spencer, Koby Altman has made a lot of moves in his time as the lead executive of the Cavs. Obviously, that title has changed, going from general manager at one point to now president of basketball operations, but he's done a lot of things. And I always will come back to the Donovan Mitchell trade because that is the one, to me, that cemented the Cavs as the rebuild is over, right? Even when they won 44 games and they went to the play-in, and that was a great season. That was a very fun team. They stylistically played so much different than everybody else. And that was like, you could see, okay, Darius Garland's going to be really good. Evan Mobley's going to be awesome. They've got something with Jarrett Allen. Lauri Markkanen is something that the Cavs saw that nobody else saw. But Koby Altman vaulted them, and this front office vaulted them in some ways into legitimacy by pulling the trigger on that trade, by making that deal. Like, that is the one that is always going to stick out to me.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think that it also fast-tracked some stuff.
It did.
And that includes the development of a Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. And that goes back to when you said, like, it was kind of a bet on those guys more than it was a bet on Donovan, because Donovan, as we know, he's not finished product, but he was already an established star at that point. So that's just saying, okay, we are comfortable enough with what we have here at the moment to add a piece like that into this. And that was this question that I asked him that media day. I never forgot. I was like, how do you know that you're ready to add a superstar of that caliber and to not fast track the process, but understand that they're going to have to come along with him in order for you to get to that point that you want to be at? And they're still going for that. They're still trying to get there. But you see that Evan has definitely taken that step. And you see how the Darius Garland took that step. He was an all-star last year, had a really solid regular season, and ran into some unfortunate luck with that toe. And he's going to be missing, the first 8 to 10 games or whatever it is next year. But you can tell that those two are the staples, I think, of what is around Donovan Mitchell. And then, like you said, the margins, Max Strus, I think, one of their better playoff performers. You have so many different guys, like Kenny Atkinson loves to employ, Sam Merrill out defensively, and they end up getting him 4 years in his deal. And that's what you need to complement that. Lonzo Ball, can't wait to see what happens with him, with Donovan Mitchell. I'm excited to see Larry play with Don, because he's going to be so good at playmaking from that middle area and really kind of creating that dribble handoff threat too. And then obviously Jarrett Allen and Don have great chemistry together, just as a classic pick and roll duo. So it's about bringing in that type of talent. And I think now you're going to see Jaylon Tyson get to that, and you're going to hopefully see Craig Porter Jr. get elevated a little bit more. And that's where they've done a good job is just kind of that development. You mentioned it too, man. Dean Wade,
right?
Like these guys drafted in the G League or undrafted and then being turned into those diamonds into the rough and ended up getting NBA contracts. That's not anything to scoff at. That is a really tough thing to do, to find those types of talents and make them into rotational players.
That is one of the most challenging things for a front office to do. And that is something that the Cavs are going to have to do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like in living in the second apron world, they're not going to be a second apron team forever. But while they're in the second apron, you have to find ways to find those diamonds in the rough. And Koby Altman and this front office have demonstrated the ability to do that. Now, of course, not all of them work out. Like Kevin Porter Jr. was somebody that probably could have fit that mold as an end of the first round pick. And he had some off the court things that made it not work in Cleveland.
Dylan Windler had the injury history.
That was and you know what, as I mentioned, there's not a front office that's going to bat 1,000.
Yep.
None of them are perfect.
You didn't hang around Kenny too long. You're using his idioms right now.
I just think that none of them are going to be perfect. And I look at this and say they've done a very good job on the margins. And I don't know if this qualifies as a margin move, but I look at the way they acquired Jarrett Allen as like something that qualifies there.
It was a coup
because they gave up a Milwaukee Bucks first round pick. That is an end of the first round pick because that was when the Bucks were in their peak. That was the best stage of Milwaukee during this Giannis run. So they basically gave up that and got Jarrett Allen. And it was sort of out of nowhere. They were the fourth team in a 4-team trade. And it was almost a footnote that, oh yeah, and the Cavs got this Jarrett Allen guy that, you know, if you are a sicko and you watched the Nets before Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving got there the way that, you know, I certainly did. You're like, oh, this guy is awesome. But if you were just like watching the Nets because Kevin Durant and Kyrie were there, like, why isn't DeAndre Jordan playing? But finding a way to acquire him and sneaking in there, it's like those moves have been very shrewd ones.
And you don't give up the draft capital too.
Right,
like that's the other thing. Like I don't consider it draft capital.
I don't want to call it a worthless first round pick, but
right, exactly.
Nobody wants to. Everybody wants to pick 30th because it means you had the best record in basketball, and that's what matters here. But nobody wants to have the 30th pick because you have to guarantee a contract for multiple years for a guy that probably isn't going to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
So like giving up that to get Jarrett Allen was such a good move. I look at that as if we were to do like the Mount Rushmore of Koby Altman's moves, I think that is on there.
Yeah, no, I think that Jarrett getting in that 4-team deal, it was the big James Harden trade, and to involve yourself and find a way to get that. And also you're not giving up too much from a player standpoint. You're not giving too much up with a draft capital standpoint. And then I think one of his better moves too, that even at the time I wasn't too big of a fan of, was Caris Levert. Remember, he traded Ricky Rubio away for Caris Levert.
Well, Ricky had gotten hurt, so it wasn't as if he was trading Ricky Rubio that was contributing. He had
correct
his ACL, but it was
I mean.
also giving up a first-round pick for Caris Levert, and that worked out in an interesting way because that was the first-round pick that was lottery protected, and then the Cavs lose in the play-in.
Yeah,
so they keep the pick, and then they trade the pick in part for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
so really they traded that pick twice. And got Caris Levert and Donovan Mitchell for it. Now, I can't sit here and say, well, Kobe deserves credit for that because the Cavs missed the playoffs that year.
That's a little bit. That's kind of luck in a way.
It was. I mean, it was good and bad luck. Like that was a move to try and help them make the playoffs, and then they missed the playoffs, so they did keep their pick. So, like, I get what you're saying, though. It's those types of moves that have been very successful for him. Organizationally, I think the under the radar stuff like Sam Merrill, like Dean Wade, Craig Porter Jr., who we don't know if he's going to pan out or not. Jaylon Tyson, we don't know if he's going to pan out or not, but the track record in Cleveland. And I was talking to somebody, Spencer, earlier on Monday with another team, and they obviously know I cover the Cavs. And one of the things that I've heard most common in the 2 days I've been here from people across the league is how much they love the Larry Nance Jr. signing. Like they think that is one of the more underrated signings of the offseason. So that has been a common thing that I've heard. But I was also talking to somebody who said to me, I think Cleveland's front office is incredibly underrated. Like they get so many things right, and nobody's going to be perfect, as I've said several times on the show, but they get so many things right, and they don't necessarily always get the credit that they deserve because they've been patient. And patience is a really, really difficult thing. And I also do think, too, we have to give Dan Gilbert credit here, because Dan has been patient through a rebuild. And I think it would have been very easy to try and microwave some things early in the rebuild process. And they chose to take a long view, which is not an easy thing to do, especially when you're coming off of a run of 4 consecutive trips to the finals. So I do think that yes, while the front office deserves a lot of credit, I think that Dan Gilbert deserves credit for sticking by this front office and allowing them to go out and do the job that they've done.
Trust is everything, man. And I think that he sees the time and the work that they've put in to get these evaluations, to make these moves, and seeing that incremental progress. And I think, you look at what the Nuggets did, for example. Like, the Nuggets have one of the best players in the world on their team.
I would say the best.
Exactly. So you look at how long it took that team to get to the upper tier. I know they had to trade for an Aaron Gordon. They had to give up on Will Barton and Gary Harris and bring some different pieces in. But the core that they had there was pretty much the same.
Right.
So I think that they have that as an example to look at a little bit more maybe than other teams, and say, yeah, you know what? It can work that way if we just continue to nose to the grindstone, just keep working at it. It takes a deal of luck. It takes a deal of mental toughness and strength. And I think that it's just kind of one giant storm that really results in a championship. And you saw that, like, with the Pacers this year. I know they came up short, but like, they were literally a game away from winning the finals.
I mean, if Tyrese Haliburton doesn't tear his Achilles, they might be champions.
They might be. And the Thunder, you can equally look. That's why it's funny how we talk about these teams, because, like, what happens if the Thunder, don't win that game? How do we talk about them? And
differently?
Do they make all that money in those extensions that they got this summer?
You think about, should they go all in for Giannis? Like, that would be the conversation we'd be having about them. Had they not won that game?
Right,
That's
exactly.
exactly what we would be saying. Should the Thunder trade for Giannis?
It's literally an injury away. It's a quarter away, a drought away. That is how little the gap is on what you're allowed to do and not do. And Koby talked about that at his end of season press conference. We got to make sure that we box out with 10 seconds left. We got to make sure that there's no 5-second violation or, anything of that sort that takes you back, because you have the talent to get there. You absolutely know you have a talent to get to the finals. And anyone you talk about around Summer League here is like, that was not how that was supposed to end.
Right.
Everybody I've talked to out here knows how good they are, knows how talented they are, knows the direction they're headed in. It's up to them to do it, though. And it takes a lot of frustration and hard days, but I know that they feel the same way. And you just listen to how Donovan Mitchell's been talking in these interviews, and Kenny and Koby, and they are hungry. They are absolutely starving for a title. And it's just going to take a little bit more. It's going to take one more rep. It's going to take one more hour of practice. They have to get that extra gear to kick in, and they're absolutely capable of it, because they're one of the deadliest offenses in basketball last year. Defensively, pretty dang good for the most part.
Right.
So they've got the pieces, man. It's up to them to just do it now.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot about Koby Altman, but we are in Vegas. We have heard things. We're going to tell you exactly what we've heard from some places across the league as far as the Cavs go. That's all straight ahead right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by Hungry Root. Let's be honest. Meal planning, grocery shopping, it can be overwhelming. It's not my favorite part of what I've got going on. It can be stressful. It can be exhausting. Like I said, overwhelming just sums it up. Between busy schedules, picky eaters like me, and of course trying to eat healthy, which Vegas makes it tough, but I am trying to do that. It can be a lot. That's why Hungry Root is the place to go, because they take the stress out of planning by filling your cart for you with personalized groceries and meal options based on what you like and, more importantly, what you need. Hungry Root uses their smart cart technology to recommend groceries, recipes, even supplements tailored to your preferences. Whether you're dairy-free, gluten-free, focused on gut health, or just trying to eat a little bit better like I am, Hungry Root has you covered. The best part about Hungry Root, you don't have to waste time at the grocery store or stress out over what's for dinner because they've got it figured out for you, and they can be a big help in sticking to those nutrition goals that I know you have. So take advantage of this exclusive offer because for a limited time, you can get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That is hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. So Spencer, you, I'm sure, have had a very hectic 24 hours in Vegas because you are Spencer Davies, and that's how you live your life. My 24 or I guess 36 hours in Vegas at this point, because my flight did not get canceled and I got here on time, has probably been a little less hectic than yours, but I do know that we've both talked to people, we've both heard things. So I'm curious, what have you been hearing about the Cavs so far at Summer League?
People are very impressed by Naquin Tomlin.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. And I know I talked about this a little bit yesterday on my podcast, but before the Koby Altman stuff and that came out on Monday, like on Sunday, even before the Cavs played, everyone's like, man, Naquin Tomlin's been terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is really taking advantage of the situation that he's given. And I think a lot of what he brings to the table is just kind of fundamental. But it's also, he's strong, man. Like, he has this really, really interesting shoulder ratio thing. Like he's got
shoulder ratio things. Are those called traps?
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, he's strong. He's strong upper body, man, and he can move bodies. But he's also showcased to me a lot of ability to attack off closeouts. And now that he's shooting those threes from the corner, he's knocking those down. But he always seems to be just kind of Johnny on the spot too. Like a lot of offensive boards, putbacks. Just showcasing a lot of what we saw with the Charge really this past season. And honestly, the last game of the season against the Pacers, he was outstanding, grabbing every board, knocking down threes, also being just used in that pick and roll situation. Him and Tyson have had this amazing two-man game for 3 straight games now. Yeah. They got to figure out how to close out and quote, worse, situations that are a little bit more tight. But I think for the most part, the sample size you have with JT and Naquin is really solid, and it should be because they have chemistry from the Charge. Right. But I think with Naquin, his game to me, like he's got like a nice little shoulder, short turnaround fader type thing going on. Like I don't want to put any kind of weird words in anyone's mouth, but his game kind of reminds me of like young Pascal Siakam with the Raptors. Like very much so. He's a cutter, maybe not quite as long. Yeah. Maybe like he's a little bit of a cutter. He's got a mid-range game. He can stretch the floor. I don't see him as like the isolation Pascal we see today. Pascal had to work on that throughout the years to get to that point. But like early in his career, Raptors off the bench with Jakob Poeltl, and then like that's what Naquin's game is reminding me of right now. But he's getting rave reviews across Vegas right now, and a lot of people are talking highly of him. Yeah, that is the number one thing that I've heard as far as the Cavs Summer League team goes, is that everybody seems to be very impressed with Naquin Tomlin. Would you, if I told you 1 year from now, we are not watching Naquin Tomlin play in Summer League, but we are having a conversation, you and I, in this very room, about whether or not Naquin Tomlin could be in the rotation for the 2026-2027 Cavs. Would that be a surprising thing for you? Not at all. Yeah, not at all. I think so either. I think honestly, like he's a candidate to get his two-way converted to a regular contract this year and potentially be in the roster. That would not surprise me. I don't know if it'll be right away. Right. Partially because this front office loves to operate with a 14-man roster, and I would imagine they're going to sign a veteran for that 14th roster spot. So at a certain point, I imagine they'll add a 15th guy the way they did this past year with Chuma Okeke. Keeping that flexibility before the playoffs. And I would imagine that could be Naquin Tomlin. Yeah, I could see that too. And then that would open up another two-way spot if that would go that way. So, well, they still do. They have one two-way spot as of right now. Yep. We'll see where that goes. But Naquin Tomlin has been the talk of Summer League from everyone that I've talked to specifically about Summer League. The other thing that I wanted to touch on a little bit is what Jaylon Tyson has done, because I've been very impressed with him so far, but I also do have to watch what he's doing
and sort of take it with a grain of salt because it's just such a different role than what he's going to be asked to do with the Cavs.
Right. Because now he's kind of forced to play the de facto point guard role right now.
Yes, with Craig Porter Jr. out.
And that's just kind of happened trial by fire because Craig gets hurt. He has the hamstring injury. And now you're left with really like only 2 ball handlers. And Tyson obviously played the point, ran the offense at Cal, right? So that was good for him.
He was everything for them.
To have that experience helps in a situation like this. Like first game, dude, 12 assists to 4 turnovers. That's
awesome.
That's a great
for a not point guard.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Very good. Second game, a little bit more on the rough edge. Like I think it was actually more turnovers than assists in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get a mixed bag out of that. You don't want him to do that all the time. You just kind of had your hand forced in a way. Like you can give like some reps to Tyrese Proctor or something like that, and try to have the G League vet Darius Brown try to give him some point guard minutes. But this is good experience for him. Kind of reminds me of like Isaac Okoro a couple years ago when they tried him at that point guard at Summer League. It was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I can't remember what it was. But that that's not the role he's going to play in the NBA. Right. But to have that in the back pocket just in case, it's good. But for me, Jaylon's role on this team is simple. I think it's the hustle, it's the tip backs, it's the tip ins. But I do think that they're going to have him a little bit more involved this year in terms of the corner threes. The catch shoot threes have looked really good this summer league, by the way. His release is a little different.
It looks quicker. It looks better. I don't think there's as much of a hitch in that shot that we saw when he first got here. And the thing that I keep coming back to with him is, can he be a connector offensively? Yeah. Like that is the thing. Who does Kenny Atkinson always say that about? It's Max Strus. Like he calls Max Strus the ultimate connector for this team. And Jaylon, of course, doesn't have the catch and shoot stuff, or maybe the movement shooting stuff that Max has is more a more appropriate way to say it. But I do wonder if he can have that connector type role.
Yeah. Well, what's his draft comp? Josh Hart.
Right? Who is a great connector.
And didn't they compare him to like one of the Martin twins too? That was fantastic in the playoffs. Like those are connecting type of players. But I think JT actually absolutely has that type of mindset because he's very team first. He's not somebody that's going to try and take over a game or anything like that. He's very much so about getting his guys involved. And as we said, him and Naquin Tomlin have a really good 2-man game out here so far. I think he's had a lot of good 1-mores in this summer league too.
Yeah.
Those kind of swing passes that, you catch it and immediately it's like a touch pass. We know that he can rebound the hell out of the ball,
which the Cavs need from that spot.
Most definitely. And defensively, he's going to bring intensity every single time.
Yes.
I think he can still get better a little bit offensively as far as an awareness goes. If you want to talk about the cons, it's the over dribbling, and he admits that stuff, that you cannot get into that mode at the end of a game where you are playing an excellent night and you come in and start over dribbling and overthinking, and then all of a sudden, the Pacers game, for example, comes to mind.
Yes.
So, and you got to know who to trust too and stuff. And I think what stands out to me about Jaylon Tyson in talking about him as a player is always going back to what Kenny Atkinson said. It's not fair to get JT in at garbage time when he's playing with guys who are not in the rotation.
Yes.
When he's in there with the Donovan Mitchells, the Darius Garlands, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Max Strus, when he's playing with the guys who are established NBA players, he looks good.
Yes.
And I think that's where he's going to thrive, is when he's playing with those guys. And I think you saw some flashes of that last winter before the DeAndre Hunter trade and he was gone.
Yes, you didn't. We will, I think, see more flashes of that not only this upcoming season, but on Wednesday when the Cavs play Summer League next. We will be back tomorrow with another edition of Locked on Cavs because there's still so much to talk about with this team. So make sure you keep it locked in right here at Locked on Cavs. Thank you for making today's episode your first listen. No matter where you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Make sure you also check out what Spencer has going on over at Cleveland Cavaliers on SI. And if you're watching on YouTube, as we get out of here, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked on Cavs content. We'll be back tomorrow with more Locked on Cavs.